canine Thanksgiving with you know, my family. When it comes to Thanksgiving, typically speaking, it's me, Turtle, my sister, Red Nyne, my mom, Mama Nyne, and then it's my stepdad. Here is how the flow of Thanksgiving normally goes, all right? Before we even get there, before we even get to Mama Nyne's house for Thanksgiving, I am usually cooking and baking like a psychotic woman who has not been on her Adderall for the last 2 weeks. Okay? Not that I take Adderall, but I'm saying I'm basically all over the fucking place and bouncing off the walls. Like I'm just high off of fucking caffeine. Okay? I'm basically aggressively baking and getting everything in order for like a week beforehand. Okay, so that's me running to the store, getting the yams, getting the sweet potatoes, getting the flour, the sugar, the beans, getting every single thing, the eggs, the heavy cream, the butter. We're not going to talk about how many pounds of butter that I actively just have in my house at any given point in time because I bake a lot. But moving past that, I'm basically getting every single little thing that you could possibly want and need for Thanksgiving, like 1 to 2 weeks before Thanksgiving even goes. About 2 days, maybe 3 days before Thanksgiving, depending on what I have to make for Thanksgiving, I'm cooking and baking. Does nobody else cook? Or will you not let anyone help because you are afraid they're going to mess with the food? Oh, no. It's not me. It's my mom. Mama Nyne is like very militant when it comes to Thanksgiving, and I love it. So literally, and this actually happens every year, and it happened when my sister was here literally this past weekend. My mom always does a group call every year, and every year we basically divvy up who's doing what. So like my stepdad, he normally makes either like chicken or lasagna. He either does like fried chicken or he does lasagna. My mom always does the ham. These are things that are like non-negotiable. We basically always have a call where we divvy up who's doing what for Thanksgiving. And again, some things every year are non-negotiable, i.e., for example, non-negotiable, my mom always makes the ham. Non-negotiable, my stepfather always makes either the fried chicken or lasagna. Non-negotiable, and I do mean non-negotiable, I always make the rum cake, okay? I made the rum cake 1 year. My mother said that my rum cake was better than her rum cake, and she was now retired from making rum cake. And I'm like, understood. Before we even get to Thanksgiving, everybody gets their things divvied up, right? I'm basically buying all of the supplies like it's going out of fucking style because I refuse to be the woman, to be the black woman running around a store, running around, you know, Pathmark or Food Bazaar or any of those food places the day of or the night before looking for fucking marshmallows because you forgot you needed marshmallows to put on top of your sweet potatoes, to put on top of the baked sweet potatoes. I refuse to be that woman sitting here like just sitting here running around the store like a chicken with her head cut off trying to find, you know, the last bag of fucking marshmallows that you need for the next morning. So after I have all my stuff, then the cooking and the baking begins. Depending on what I'm cooking that year, I start cooking stuff the day before to 2 days, up to 3 days before I have to. And you might ask yourself, well, what in the hell are you making that you're making 3 days before that we're eating on Thanksgiving? That sounds weird or gross, okay? Perfect example. And I mean, this is the only example of what I make 3 days ahead of time because it takes me 3 days to make this shit. Rum cake is 1 and Italian rainbow cookies are 2. It takes me 3 days to bake both of those items. And I can explain why. Stage 1 is actually making the physical cake. Like, you know, you add the eggs, the butter, the sugar, the milk, all that fancy stuff. You mix it on up, you throw it in the oven and a cake comes out, right? But then, because it is rum cake, you must get the rum inside the cake. Now, granted, you do put rum inside the cake, like when you make the batter, but the thing is, alcohol gets cooked off in the oven when you make things. So, granted, it has like the smell or the aroma of rum and some of the flavoring.
But why is the rum gone?
But like I said, most of the alcohol, all the alcohol gets cooked off. So then we go to
day 2.
You have to soak the cake. And no, you can't just like throw it into like a vat of like, you know, of rum, because then it would disintegrate. Ah! Being beat with cookies. So what you do is you take something like a chopstick or a skewer or something like that, right? A very thin dowel, and you poke holes in the very bottom of the cake, right? Because this cake is made in a bundt pan. When you poke holes in the cake, you then will go and you'll make a syrup. Okay, you'll make the soak effectively. And this is where a lot of the rum comes in. You'll take rum, sugar, butter, and vanilla. I personally like to use small batch vanilla because it's more fragrant and potent. You mix them all together. You put them over the stove and you boil it down so that it becomes like a thin syrup. It's thick enough to coat the back of a spoon, but still thin enough that it could come out of like the nozzle of a ketchup bottle without resistance. Once you make that, you have to let the syrup cool a little bit, because if you try to put it inside the cake, it basically will just, it basically kind of like disintegrates some of the cake, right? And you don't want that, right? So you let it cool some, and then you take the nozzle and you basically, you know, like a turkey baster, and you know, like,
sorry, children.
You basically shoot the soak down into the cake, into the holes that you poked in, right? Now, here's the thing. You do this every 2 hours. Every 2 hours until you are done, until you have used up pretty much all, if not most, of the syrup, most of the soak, okay? That's day number 2.
The next day,
after you have fully soaked your cake. Now, if you're somebody who leaves the cake in the fridge, which is kind of a mistake, instructions unclear, shoot your load. No, do not glaze the cake with your baby batter. Ew, no. The rum syrup that you made on the stove, that goes into the cake. My God. Big gooner tendencies here, Jesus. You basically take the cake, and I do not recommend putting it in the fridge because, again, this makes the process very difficult. Just leave it on your counter covered in, like, you know, cling film or plastic wrap or aluminum foil, okay?
Thousands of tears later.
Then what you do is you're going to try your best to flip the cake out of the bundt pan. And I say try because what's going to happen more than likely is, because you have soaked this cake in like a syrup, it's going to be sticky, which means it's not going to want to flip out of the bundt pan, which means what you should do is you basically turn your oven on to like 400, maybe 425, somewhere around there, maybe 375. I'd have to look at my recipe card. This is why I write things down. You basically put your oven on to like 350 or 375, somewhere around there. You put it in the oven and you bake it for like 5-ish minutes, just so like the syrup loosens up off of the walls of the bundt pan, and then you have to turn that onto a plate. After you turn the cake out, which is like the second most stressful part, because some people like ruin their fucking cakes that way. Like some people like drop the cake, some people break the cake. Like I've seen a lot of people fuck this part up. This is usually where it goes bad, right? But if you get through it and your cake is in one piece, fantastic, you've gotten through the worst of it. After you get through turning the cake out, then you have to make the ganache. You have to make the chocolate rum glaze that goes over the cake. Now, here's where a lot of other people fuck up. Some people make the ganache too runny, And when it's really runny and very thin, it kind of soaks into the cake instead of sitting on top of the cake and looking pretty and shiny. Some people burn their ganache. If you burn your ganache, 1, it's not shiny. 2, it's bitter and it's clumpy and it's lumpy and it's weird to look at. So then you basically are towing the line of aggressively stirring and melting down, what is it? Semi-sweet or unsweetened chocolate, sugar, heavy cream, butter, and rum. Yes, rum goes into the chocolate as well. And you have to like whisk it over the double boiler method. So it means like you have to boil a pot of water, put a glass bowl, like a Pyrex mixing bowl over a pot, over the pot of boiling water, and whisk aggressively to mix everything and let it melt down. If you have gotten this far, congratulations. You've made it. Because then after that, all you have to do is like pour it onto the cake and drizzle it, and it looks beautiful and everyone's happy. And then it's just a matter of transporting the cake to, you know, resident Mama Nyne's house, and that's usually pretty uneventful, thankfully. I want to make it. Okay, all right. I'll think about it. What if okay, hear me out. What if I figure out a way to do a baking stream? Would that be more or less acceptable? Hell no. Oh, okay. Understood. Jeez.